Hey everyone, I hope you're all doing really well. Today, you can see by the title that I am kicking off a no buy, a makeup no buy for 2023. However, in my usual fashion, I have to have a spin on it. I can't just simply say I'm not going to purchase makeup for the entirety of 2023. I want to kind of create a little bit of a challenge for myself and allow myself potentially the opportunity to purchase some makeup this year after hitting a goal. So let's chat about all of the goals that I have, the intentions that I have, and the rules that I have for this year's makeup no buy that I'm doing with a twist. If you're familiar with my channel, I have been doing some sort of structured makeup purchasing, or at least some sort of monitoring of my makeup purchasing over the last 2 years. In 2021, I did a hybrid no buy, low buy year where I gave myself allowance periods where I could purchase makeup, but otherwise entire blocks of the year where I was on no buys. And that was a very successful project for me. That was something that I feel like I learned a lot more about my shopping habits throughout. And I was able to save a lot of money by creating absolute periods of time where I didn't allow myself to purchase anything. But throughout that year, there was something that I did allow to kind of fall by the wayside, which was PR. I did bring in a little bit more PR than I probably wanted to or anticipated. And so that definitely allowed it to be much more successful for me, my no buy, because although I wasn't spending money, I was still acquiring and trying new makeup products. And so through learning that and then taking that knowledge into 2022 with me, I didn't decide to set myself any sort of monetary budget or structure any sort of no buy. But I decided to do something a little bit different, which was to monitor my makeup purchases and my makeup empties. And I didn't want to allow myself to exceed the number of items coming into my collection, whether that be through purchases or through PR. I didn't want that to exceed the number of empties. And last year I was pretty good with that for the majority of the year, but at the very tail end of the year, unfortunately, my number of acquisitions did surpass my number of empties, although they were very close together actually. That practice really put a lot more emphasis onto ensuring that my PR and my purchases didn't get out of hand collectively. And so that was really good. Although I didn't have any sort of real structure outside of just that goal really, it was definitely something that helped me stay majorly in check with my makeup collection. And so overall, it was something that I did really enjoy and did find quite a bit of success in. Although I was so diligent with my purchases last year, I do feel like there are things that I could definitely improve on. And so this year I want to do something that allows me to really see my makeup collection dwindle, to see a diminishment in the number of products that come into my collection. And a no buy is really probably the only way to do that, because ultimately I want to enjoy my existing makeup collection and I want to actually see my makeup collection go down in size. So to make things a little bit more interesting for myself and to challenge myself, I'm going to be on a complete makeup no buy until I finish up 23 products from my makeup collection in their entirety. So that includes individual pans within palettes. So let's say in a highlighter palette, there's 3 pans. If I finish one of them up, that is fair game to count as an empty. And if I finish up an entire eyeshadow in an eyeshadow palette, that is fair game to count as an empty. And that is because those are things that I oftentimes don't do. So I want to encourage myself to get use out of those types of products and to actually empty things within palettes. I don't have any empty eyeshadows in my eyeshadow collection in my palettes, I believe, because once I hit pan in things, I usually just try to move on to the next thing to hit pan on, but I want to encourage myself to use up some of those items. And so 23 products have to get used up before I can purchase anything new. And that's because it's 2023. I was initially thinking about doing 20 empties, but I decided I'm going to do 23 makeup empties in order to really allow myself to kind of have a little bit of a balance of like true empties, like individual products that are completely emptied up, and then empty pans within palettes as well. I hope that makes sense. And then in addition to that, I'm going to be on a no buy until I also hit pan on 5 other products in my collection. The 5 pans that I want to hit in my collection are 5 cheek product or face product pans, not eyeshadow pans, because I'm always going to be working on my Pan Those Eyeshadows project pan that should be coming relatively soon. And so I will be hitting pan in my eyeshadow collection, and that's just going to happen. But I don't find myself hitting pan in my blushes, bronzers, highlighters, or face powders very frequently whatsoever. So that is where I want to see that progress made in my collection. I hope that makes sense. And those goals are really what's going to allow me to see some serious progress on the existing makeup collection that I do have, and allow me to bring down the count of items in my collection as well. Now, PR is a little bit of a tricky sort of situation within this. So I think for the time being, for the first 2 months of this year, I'm not going to be accepting any sort of makeup PR. There are sometimes situations where PR does come kind of unannounced, unknown. So if that ends up being the situation, then of course I can do with it what I will, whether I want to add it to my collection and to keep it, or if it's something that I do want to give to someone else in my life, then that is definitely my kind of choice at that time. But generally speaking, most opportunities are ones that I've been reached out to by the brand. They've asked to send a selection of products or allow me to pick out a selection of products. And so for the months of January and February, I'm not going to be accepting any sort of opportunities similar to that. And then in March, around this time in March, I want to sit down and share with you kind of where my headspace is at. I want to share with you how many products I have emptied so that we can kind of start to keep track of the tally. And at that point, I'll let you know if for the next 2 months I want to no longer receive PR. And we're going to just kind of monitor it on a 2-month kind of period. Overall, where my headspace is right now, I just don't really feel the need to bring in PR because I really want to see my makeup collection decrease. And because I'm just generally not the kind of channel that people go to hear reviews or anything along those lines, I really am more of an avenue and more of a kind of spokesperson for using up your makeup as it is and enjoying things even if they're older, even if they're discontinued. I'm an advocate for that. So yeah, I just don't even know that PR is truly something that makes total sense for me as a consumer and for me as a channel. If in the coming months I do feel like I want to accept PR, it will be at a very minimal amount. I never feel like I have really been truly excessive with PR, but I really, really, really want to see my makeup collection go down. And I really want to make progress on my collection. So trying out and utilizing new things, while that's fun, it does take away from the opportunity to use up what I have in my collection, which is my ultimate goal as it stands right now. And so to really, really keep tabs on this project, every single update, I will share with you exactly how many products I have emptied. And so that is where my makeup empties are going to live from here on out. I'm not going to have like dedicated makeup empties videos. They're going to be when I'm chatting about kind of my ongoing goals in my no buy, maybe some products that are currently on my wish list or that kind of stuff, things that maybe I'm experiencing while no longer purchasing makeup. I want to kind of chat about those in those updates and the empties, as they are really a driving factor that will allow me to get back to consumerism. So I ended up totaling up the individual products that I have in my collection so we can really monitor this. And this number was a little bit surprising to me because when I talked about my makeup inventory, I'm talking about like 18 palettes, but I'm not talking about the 300 eyeshadows that are dispersed amongst all of those palettes, if that makes sense. So I actually have a grand total of 435 individual items in my collection. So through this no buy, I should be able to bring that down to 412 products, correct? That's minus 23, yes. And you might be thinking, Rebecca, last year you finished up 45 makeup items. The year previously you finished up 40 makeup items. 23 is only half of that, or around half of that. So this no buy should really only be for 6 months time. I really don't know how long this is going to be. I actually anticipate that this is going to be the majority of 2023 for me. And that's because my makeup collection as a whole doesn't look as loved as it has in years past because I have been so focused on using up items. So that's why I've integrated that pan goal. And that's also why I think 23 items is actually something within reason for me to get use out of this year. My makeup collection generally is just not as thoroughly used right now because I have been trying to create this level of balance of using items up and getting use out of my collection. But there has definitely been more of a focus in the last few years on actually emptying makeup products. I want to still give myself some leeway to really enjoy the collection that I have, to use things that I own without really trying to use them up, just simply because maybe I'm gravitating towards this one blush more frequently than the one that is super close to empty. I just want to allow that to happen should that be the case. Should that be something that I find myself falling into, that is a-okay, because by the end of this year, I most definitely will have 23 makeup empties. In fact, in the coming month, I want to sit down and share with you my empties predictions for this year. I did talk about my empties predictions in a video last March, and it was very insightful for me because when I look at my collection as it stands in this moment, my prediction number is kind of low because there isn't a lot of progress on all of the products that I own. I hope that makes sense. So I do really feel like 23 items is a very reasonable number, and it may allow me the opportunity to purchase makeup before the end of this year, but it may not. It really may not, given the status of my collection. I want to allow myself some grace and to be, forgiving with myself should I need to replace anything in my collection. So I do have one exception for this project, and that is that if replacements are required for categories that I've now completely used up, that I now have only 0 products in, so nothing within, then I have to allow myself 2 weeks of being without that product before I can replace it. And the only reason why I've created this exception is because I have 2 categories in my collection that I currently have only 1 product in, and I foresee myself potentially wanting to purchase something to replace them. The first one being my glitter glue. It is very close to empty, and that is something that I would love to have a replacement of when it's done. However, if I give myself 2 weeks to kind of play with other things in my collection, maybe try different techniques, then perhaps I won't end up actually needing to replace it. And then the other category is my loose face powder. I just love setting my under eyes with a loose powder, and should I finish that, I want to give myself 2 weeks to kind of play with my other pressed powders and see if I can make them work just fine. And if that 2 weeks has surpassed and I really do feel like I need a loose powder, then I'll just replace the loose powder in my collection. So those are kind of the 2 categories that I foresee myself completely running out of and requiring a replacement for. And so I have created that exception simply because I don't want to not enjoy the way that my makeup looks because of this no buy. Like, there are some types of products that just make or break a makeup look and the enjoyment of using and wearing makeup. But aside from potentially needing to re-up those 2 kinds of products, I really don't foresee anything else really running out because I do have quite a bit of variety within my collection. So yeah, that is kind of the plan. That's the game plan for this year. Definitely going to be challenging. Definitely something that I'm going to want to talk throughout this year. So we're going to be talking every couple of months, just sharing where my headspace is at. I'm going to be sharing with you what I've used up, and yeah, reflecting on what the last couple of months of makeup use up and not purchasing makeup really did for me. So that is everything for today's video. That is the introduction to my 2023 makeup no buy. It is a little bit stressful to put it out into the universe because I definitely have to hold myself accountable to it now, but I do think it's also important to share this with you because I have been considering this for a couple weeks, and something that I've done is thought to myself, oh, I may as well just buy that loose powder now. I may as well just buy that glitter glue now, so that when I start my no buy, I already have those. I'm already ready for a no buy, but I haven't done that. And that is because I really, really, really want to truly test myself and push myself. So yeah, that is everything for today's video. Thank you so much for watching and for hanging out with me, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye everyone.